everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. I know I said I was going to take a break from DC Multiverse. I know I said I was going to focus a lot on G.I. Joe the next couple weeks, but that was before this showed up. This is the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Superman Doomsday 2-pack, and this has been a long time coming. 3 years of Multiverse, and this is the first time we received Doomsday. We did have Devastator, but that really wasn't the same. So when this came up for sale, when this came up for pre-order, this is a Target exclusive, by the way, gold label. When this came up for pre-order, I was really excited about it. I was really happy about it. I actually jumped on it the day that it went up for pre-order, which is something I don't do that often. But I have to admit, after I put it on pre-order, and now that I have it in hand, my expectations and my enthusiasm has been tempered somewhat, and we'll get into the whys of that once we get the box open and we take a look at some of the things. I don't know, I just think there's going to be a few things about this that either I don't like or I feel like they sort of missed the mark on it. But let's take a look at the packaging first. Down here we have the 85 years of Superman. We have a very large window right here where you can see Doomsday, you can see Superman. There's actually a really nice comic book backdrop. I can't wait to take a look at that. But with the stands and the cards being attached to it, I don't know if we're going to be able to reuse that. Gold label up top. You can see that Target sort of mangled mine in shipping. Up top, more window and the DC logo. On the side, more window, Superman versus Doomsday. On the back, we have some really nice artwork right here. Now, this very iconic shot, but I don't think these are the original pieces. I think these have been redrawn. I don't think these are the original from the comic panels. But we all know this. This is a very iconic look right there. Superman versus Doomsday on the side. More ripped box on the bottom. Big old nothing. So, and let me tell you, there's some weight to this thing, and it's all leaning to one side. Doomsday here is going to be a chunky boy. Really interested to get him in my hands. So, without further ado, let's finish ripping up the box and take a look at McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Superman vs. Doomsday. Okay, so we know everybody here wants to see Doomsday, so of course we're going to start with Battle Damaged Superman. And putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he is approximately 7 1/4 inches to the top of his hair. So taking a look at the Superman figure that comes with this 2-pack, it's easy to see that this is basically the Hush Superman. This is Hush Superman that's just been retooled a little bit for this 2-pack. As a matter of fact, I think this face portrait right here, this head sculpt, is the same from the Angry Hush Superman, the one that came with the, it was the McFarlane Stores exclusive. They just didn't give him the red eyes, and they bruised him up a little bit. All in all, though, I think the body, the build, everything for Supes is pretty great, including the coloring. I really like the blues, the reds, and the yellows. Everything really pops. Everything's bright. I really dig that. This is actually making me excited for the Hush Superman I have coming down the line. But looking at this one, we can see that he has his angry face on. We can see that he's battered up a little bit. They put some tears in the costumes, some bruising on the costume. His boots are dirtied and darkened, like they've been scuffed or bloodied. And of course, we have his torn cape. Big miss right here. There should be that big yellow S right there. I mean, this is Superman versus Doomsday. We've all seen the iconic shot. This should definitely have a big yellow S on it. As far as that goes, I mean, it's Superman. There's not much to tell as far as the coloring or the sculpt or the look of it goes. I do wish they would have redded his eyes out. I think I get why they did it. They didn't want it to be basically the same thing as like the Hush, the possessed or the mind-controlled Hush Superman from last year, I think it was. But he's fighting Doomsday. Some red eyes would have gone a long way with this. So make the eyes red and put the yellow S on the cape. As far as paint apps go, that's really my only complaint. Everything else I think looks really good. Once again, you have like the stressor marks here on his suit, the tear. I don't think there's anything on the back. No, the cape is torn. and the boots are dirtied up. Could have done some damage up here on the sleeves. Like, you got a little bit of discoloration right there. But I think, like, having, like, the sleeves torn, I think that would have looked good, too. Because right now, the only rip down to the skin is that spot right there. So let's take a look at the articulation on Supes. His head will do a full 360. He has some decent tilt side to side. That's it for looking up, which, man, I really just want a Superman figure that can look straight up. It can look down. Arms will do a full 360 spin. You can see he has a butterfly joint, but it's very stiff and doesn't give you a whole... There we go. Okay. I just worked it loose. Now it does have a pretty decent range of travel. Arm will come up to 90. Bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows. Swivel hinge, swivel wrists that they'll pivot. And they'll go in and out. Or you can do this. You can do that. And now they go up and down. He has this ab cut right here. Do a full 360. He can crank back. Lean forward, not so much. A little bit of side-to-side rock. Once again, the ball joint on the McFarlane figures is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Ball joint at the waist will do a full 360 spin. Ball joint at the waist gets some really good rock side-to-side. Ball joint will go back. Using them in conjunction, he can almost look straight up. Ball joint can rock forward. And that's really about it for going forward. Legs will come up to 90. Legs will go back. Legs don't really want to come up to the side. Crotch joint pivots not very well. We've seen that before. Oh. Double jointed knees with some really tight detents. I don't know if you could hear that. No boot cut. Ankles rock back. Ankles rock forward. Forward facing pin for rock. And toe articulation. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this face sculpt, because I am not a fan of this face sculpt. First of all, I think his face is maybe a little too flat, especially here on the nose. I do like the strong lantern jaw. That works for me. I dig that. I also like how he has a little curly QS right here. I don't mind the bruising and the bloodying that they gave him, considering he's going against Doomsday. It's just the expression. I wasn't a fan of this expression when it came out with the Hush version of Superman. I'm not a fan of it now. I get it. He's going against Doomsday. You want him to look angry. You want him to have that battle rage face going on. But I really don't remember this being the look that he had while he was fighting Doomsday. I don't know. This just doesn't seem to fit to me. I don't know. So out of the package, Superman comes with these weird gripping hands. Like, this one looks like he should have something that he can put in there. And this one looks like maybe he's trying to lock up with somebody, but it's Doomsday. That's not going to happen. So we have these two hands. And for another set of hands, he has these open flight hands. This is the first thing I want to talk about. I rarely say something like this during these videos, but this is stupid. He has open flight hands, and then he has these gripping hands. Get rid of these. Give him closed fists. And I know, before you say anything, I know, I get it, I understand. There are a lot of Supermen that have closed fists, but if there's any Superman figure that needs a set of closed fists, it's this one, fighting Doomsday. These are useless. These open hands don't really do much good either. He needs some clenched fists for when he's fighting off, for when he's squaring off against Doomsday. And I probably am just going to take some closed fists from some of my other Superman figures, or wherever I have just like a pair of closed fists. And I know this seems like a minor nitpick, but this is just really stupid. So the hands were all that he had for accessories, but we do have the collector's card that comes with all of the McFarlane figures. And I like this. I like how they used this as his card, just the cape, this iconic shot right here. I really like that. And this is why there should have been a big yellow S on the back of his cape. It's kind of disappointing that there wasn't. Then we have Superman down here, Reign of Doomsday. Flip it over on the back. Go ahead, pause and read. Okay, and now here he is, the chonky one himself, out of the box, and putting the tape measure to him, we can see that in as neutral a stance as he can get, he is 9 inches, approximately 9 inches to the top of his dome, but he is roughly 9.5 inches to the top of his, well, top knot. Getting him up closer, there is, I have to admit, a lot of detail in the torso, the shoulders, especially the face of Doomsday here. Not so much when we get down to the legs, but that's par for the course. I mean, this is pretty much based off of his original appearance in the Death of Superman comic. And I don't know about the torso, but I do know that the arms and I believe the hands are reuse from Devastator. And I can't talk about, like I said, the torso because I don't have Devastator, but I'm fairly certain that the torso, the head, and the legs are all new sculpt, and the arms are the only thing that has been reused. Now, I don't really have a problem with that, but it does raise a question of, if you're going to reuse them, why didn't you color in, see there's still material wrapped around his arms right here. Why didn't you color that in the same green as his trunks and his boots? Because at this point, Doomsday had pretty much ripped out of the environmental suit he was wearing, that it could be conceivable that he would still have some material hanging off of his arms right there. I think that was a missed opportunity. He could have colored those in this same green, added a little bit of a splash of color in there. I do think the face sculpt is fantastic. I do like that. I do like the beady, the redness of the eyes and those beady white pupils. The top knot is okay. Get a little bit of a windblown look to it. I mean, there's not going to be much as far as paint apps. I mean, Doomsday is Doomsday. He is what he is. And other than the boots and the trunks, he pretty much was just like this gray stone monster. Now, one thing that really upset me about this was, I don't know if you noticed when we were taking a look at the size scaling, once again, he's a little skewed because this leg is just a bit longer than this leg, because the anchor point sits a little higher than this one does. You can even see that it doesn't really fit right in there, correctly in there in the crotch piece, and that kind of lopsides him a little bit. We've seen this happen a bunch of times with a couple of, I shouldn't say it a bunch of times, but we've been seeing this happen recently with a lot of the McFarlane Multiverse figures. And to have it done on Doomsday, a bigger figure, a more expensive figure, that is very much a disappointment. Now, other than that, I think he looks really good. He has jaw articulation. Like, I know we're not looking at the articulation yet, but he has jaw articulation, which kind of caught me by surprise, because you can see there's some really good work in there. For, like, his teeth, you can see inside his mouth. Just that black purple tongue in there. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I think that is really cool. They did a really good job of detailing the inside of that nasty, nasty maw. Plus, he has all of his spikies. Now, all of the spikes are very soft rubber, so they'll bend, they won't break, and they won't poke you while you're playing around with him. The only ones that are really hard, because even on the back of his fists right here, they're soft rubber. This is a soft rubber. These parts right here that are actually part of the arm mold in the shoulders are really the only places that, like, can give you the ouchies. These down here on his knees, which are the only spikes that he has on his legs, are also a very soft rubber, just like the forearms and the knuckle dusters that he has right here. The rest of him, well, and this stuff right in here, is part of the chest, but this is also a soft rubber piece on the back. This is all molded in, but the big ones right here, this is all soft, so they're not going to break. They're not going to give you little pokies. I think this looks really cool right here too, just how you can kind of see, like, the spine protruding through a little bit between the shoulders right there. That's really cool. His shorts, part of the suit, the environmental suit he was wearing, the containment suit, has a real nice texturing to it. I like the silver of the belt buckles. I like the silver of the wraps around the thighs. I think this is a really well done, and it's a little bit brighter than I remember the comic being, but the shade of the shade of green, I feel, is the right shade. The boots are disappointingly rather featureless. Like, they're just big, chunky pieces of green plastic. It would have been cool to see some detail in here, like the bands around the top of the boots right here. Would have been cool if it would have been painted in gray. I mean, yeah, gray or silver, rather, to match these bands right there. And maybe some detail along the soles of the boot, just to throw some color in there. I don't know. The paint apps on the arms and the feet are really my biggest complaints with this figure, aside from the whole lopsided stance because of having one leg longer than the other. Now let's take a look at articulation on this beast. That his head will do a full 360 spin. The spikes and the hair get in the way a little bit. He can't really look up. That's about it. He can look down. He has some disturbingly good tilt side to side. As you saw before, the jaw will open and close. Arms will do a full 360 spin. Has a butterfly joint, but the collars, the cuffs in here, the butterfly cuffs are really loose. So like the arms will butterfly back very well, but then you kind of got to play with them to get them to move forward, because once they go back, the cuffs kind of stick and you have to move them on your own. And even then, they don't really come forward very well. The arm will come up to there, not even really close to 90. Single jointed arms with a hinge and swivel at the elbow. The detents on the arms are really stiff. The wrists will pivot, and they'll hinge up and down. And they'll hinge up and down. They don't come in and out. He has an ab cut right here that he can do a full 360 spin. He can kind of crunch back. He can kind of crunch back. He can crunch forward right there. And he gets some side-to-side rock. But as you can see, he also has a ball joint right here at the waist. And the ball joint will also do a full 360 spin. But the ball joint is really loose. It is really loose. And like, he can really crank back. But then you start to see the gap in the shorts. And then he can come forward. Not nearly as much, but that also gives him a lot more side-to-side rocker. But this is just really loose. It's like it's balancing on this ball joint a lot of weight with the upper torso that you kind of have to be careful in the posing. Otherwise, the weight of the torso is just going to like take it back. All right. So the legs will come up to about there. They don't come forward very well. You do have to watch the diaper piece, very flexible. The legs, will come up to 90, but they don't stay. They're too heavy. They'll drop down on their own. Single jointed knees that come to there with a kind of questionable articulation that is not really a hinge. Well, I guess it is a hinge and swivel at the knee, but instead of swiveling at the top part, it swivels at the bottom part. So it's almost like a boot cut just under the knee. Ankles will rock back. Ankles will rock forward. You can hear those detents. Forward-facing pin for some rocker, but no toe articulation. And just my general issue with the articulation of this beast is it is all very loose. And like, especially up here in the torso, that it kind of wants to do its own thing sometimes when you're trying to pose him in. And it just feels like, it feels a little sloppy, to be honest, whenever you're trying to pose him. Like, once you get him down, it looks really good. But there's not a lot, like, in the arms, for example. And like I said, the torso, there's just a lot of looseness, a lot of slop, that it doesn't really want to stay very well. And it can cause him to off balance and fall backwards. But, I mean, he's Doomsday. He's huge. He's fantastic. He's basically a mega fig in a 2-pack. I mean, he's the monster. What more could you ask for? Doomsday doesn't have any accessories, but he does come with his collector's card, and there's just a few things wrong with this image. First of all, that version of Superboy didn't exist yet, let alone wear the jeans and the black t-shirt. Kara was dead at this point. There was a clone that was working for Lex, but Supergirl, especially that version of Supergirl, wasn't around. It's not a still from the death of Superman, but it is very evocative imagery of that comic. And on the back, we have a bio. Go ahead, pause and read. And now for size comparison, here they are beside McFarlane Toys, Action Comics 1000, Superman, and Bane. And truthfully, I know there's a lot of dislike for the infected body, which is, I believe, the body that's being used for Hush Superman right here. But I don't really mind it that much. Like, I don't know, I actually like this one. As much as I love the Action Comics 1000, I think I might like this better. I feel like the proportions are a little bit better. I think this is supposed to be the infected body. I don't have infected Superman, so I'm not entirely certain. But I kind of like... I'm looking forward to getting the standard Hush Superman to put him up against Action Comics 1000. And over here, Bane is a mega figure, always kind of seemed like a little bit of overkill. But now having him stand eye to eye with Doomsday, whatever. Here they are beside Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Cobra Trooper and Heavy Artillery Roadblock. Here they are beside Mattel Masterverse, Masters of the Universe 40th Anniversary He-Man, and Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor. Here they are beside Lanyard Toys, City Hunter Predator, and Xenomorph Drone. And finally, here they are beside NECA Toys, Dungeons & Dragons, Warduke, and Grimsword. So I hate to say it, but I don't really like this pack, this set, as much as I should, or as much as I thought I would. There's really nothing here that justifies this being a 2-pack. I would have much rather preferred if this just would have been Doomsday sold as a mega fig and not done up as this 2-pack here, because even the Superman that we get with him, the battle-damaged Superman, it's the wrong Superman. The face sculpt is all wrong. It should be more of this determined, self-sacrifice, melancholy, nobody else gets hurt today, nobody else dies today look, not this anger, rage-looking face that he has going on. The yellow shield isn't on the back of the cape, which when we're talking about the death of Superman is such an egregious miss for this character. Also, there's nothing that justifies this being a 2-pack. Like, this is the first 2-pack I can think of from any of McFarlane Toys, not just, well, with the exception, I think, of like the Mortal Kombat 2-packs, that doesn't have like a diorama base with it. Even the Superman versus Devastator had that diorama base, and this could have just been done as something set up as like just like, you know, a broken street of Metropolis, something like that. Or even if they wanted to add a prop to it, could you imagine if they would have put on like the pole holding up the Superman cape, like flapping in the wind, like the flag, like that would have been really cool. And then they could have just like stripped the cape off of the figure and had that as part of the diorama. I don't know, like there's nothing here that really says, oh, this was a must-have 2-pack. It just seems like a way to milk more money out of people that were waiting for Doomsday. Like, Superman doesn't even have fists with him. Like, I can't get over that. He has these wonky gripping hands, grabbing hands, whatever, and then open flying hands. That's just a huge miss to me. As for Doomsday, he's okay. I think I might have been expecting more out of him. Like, I don't hate that. Like, well, first of all, like the arms, like those are the only things that were reused. I'm pretty sure like the torso, the head, the legs, everything else is a new sculpt. The arms are the only things that were reused from Devastator. Still, though, it would have been really cool if they could have painted the material on there. The boots are also very plain too. So it just seems like some parts of him like are really good. Like the trunks, the ripped trunks, the metal banding around his legs, around his waist. The head sculpt I think is really good. There's not much as far as paint apps or coloring goes, but it's Doomsday. There's really not much color to him. Maybe the grayers could have been like a deeper gray, and the spikes could have been more of like a brighter, maybe whiter type gray, just so there's a little bit more color contrast there. But other than that, my biggest issue with Doomsday is the green chunk plastic boots. Like, it looks fine until you get to the boots, and then it just looks kind of cheap. And the death of Superman is just such an iconic moment, not just for Superman, not just for DC Comics, but for comics history in general. The death of Superman was huge. Like, if you didn't live through it, I cannot explain to you how big that moment was in comics. And I just feel like that for something of that scale, something of that importance for something like that affected the culture as much as it did at the time. Even now, we're still feeling the repercussions of it. I just really think they could have done a better job. Because if you think about Nightfall, and that was not nearly as big as the death of Superman, but if you think about Nightfall, we have Bane as his own mega figure. Nightfall Batman just came out. We have Asbat, and we're getting Nightfall Robin. And we also got like the Nightfall Catwoman for it as well. And yes, they were all different figures, and you had to get them individually, but I think when it's all said and done, we're going to get a much better project with that. And it's not like it's not like there's a discount anymore for like buying 2-packs anymore, so it's not even like we're saving money this way. So in addition to this 2-pack being the only way that you can get Doomsday, this was also a Target exclusive that, as of the time of this recording, I believe he's still in stock. I will put a link to him in the description below, as I always do. It took me a long time to finish this video. It took me a real long time, like a ridiculously long time to finish this video. And I think that just the amount of time it's taken me to get to the end of this just speaks to how unenthused I am about this set. I don't know, I just would have rather have it been Doomsday as a single mega fig. My big concern with it, though, was when I got the box, and it was probably just because Doomsday's legs were bent in the packaging. I didn't think he was a full-size mega figure, so even when we did the size comparisons, I was very happy to see that it might just be because of the top knot, but he was still taller than Bane, so I was very happy about that. If you did get this, if you plan on getting this, let me know what you think, because I'm genuinely curious what the fan feedback is on this. Would you have rather they just released Doomsday, even if it was just a gold label exclusive? Because this was also part of the what was it? The Target fall or the Target summer geek out that was kind of just meh this year as well. So let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you got it. Let me know if you planned on getting it. Let me know how you feel about it being in this pack that just feels like it's kind of half done. Until next time, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.